We are back. It's the next day, continuing the teardown on the 2006 Toyota RAV4 engine. I guess these things are called 2G RFEs, something like that. Camry, Corollas. I think there was a lot of vehicles that had these. More popular than I thought. Like I said, I don't work on Toyotas, but I looked them up last night, and there is lots of videos on these things. So, got my work area cleaned up. Last video, this was a total mess. This engine was a nightmare to tear apart because couldn't put it on the stand, couldn't get the torque converter off, and it was completely full of water. So, just pulled this head off. Cylinders are fairly rusty on this guy. Wire brushed those a little bit. Let's see if I can move this thing. So, got two pistons out. Obviously, this thing was in very rough condition. Very, very rusted. But the bearing surfaces were decent. So, got the heads torn apart. We'll see how the valves clean up. I'm sure this thing was fine before it had a bunch of water enter into it somehow. So clean those up on the wire brush. I'll not sure how I'll clean these. The vat likes to spray out the little parts, the shims and everything. You got to remember when you're tearing apart cylinder heads, a common thing that people do is forget to take the shims out on an aluminum head. They put those there so the spring doesn't eat into the aluminum head. So got all that out. Let's see. So exhaust port's not bad, a little bit of rust, a little bit of carbon, or maybe it was burning oil or something on that cylinder. And the seats are obviously going to need some work, but it won't be bad. I don't like putting cylinder heads in the sandblaster because then you end up with glass beads in places that you can't get out. There's a lot of oil passages and everything, especially this motor. This motor probably has more oil passages than any other motor I've ever seen. So, intakes were dirty, but nothing terrible. And I've got all the parts that don't go in the vat or anything like that in that box that we'll reuse. I've got the parts that went into the vat and got cleaned up but need further cleaning. The vat does a really, really good job. If you look at the previous teardown videos on this stuff was filthy. My bucket of bolts. And then this is the vat I'm using. Standard auto lift and equipment. Very common vat. They've been doing this design for 30 or 40 years, something like that. So, hasn't cleaned up. I mean, I'm not going to get super far with the vat on this thing, but let's see. We got a little bit done on the exhaust side. Very clean on the inside, and then hasn't really gone real far on that yet. But I'll let these things run for 30-40 minutes in the vat. And then I'm going to end up having to manually clean them somehow. So same as this came pretty clean. Clean but rusted. That'll go to the sandblaster glass beater. Same with the main caps. I'll protect the bearing surface, the mating surfaces, sandblast the rest, clean all the gaskets down, and go a little bit further on the motor side. So they make a 50 millimeter over, I think. Probably wrong on that. It's 20 thousandths over, a little under 20 thousandths. So I could hone cylinders here, but I can't bore them, especially since this thing has this protrusion that the block protrudes out. It's kind of scary to run the hone down in these. It'll snatch. It's a $500 hone, so I broke one before worth quite a bit more than $500 actually, but it cost me about $1,500 for that first hone that I broke. So we'll see. I'm going to clean these things up and see how they turn out. I know they look rough right now, but we'll see how bad they actually are. And then throw the block in the washer and see what it looks like. All right, hallelujah, finally got it. All torn apart. So main bearings were very good shape. Rod bearings were very good shape, which is frickin' incredible. Crank journals look, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell now, but look like they can be polished. The crank is very rusty. We'll see how well that cleans up in the vat. It's not going to be great, but I'll sandblast this down afterwards. And cylinders are still too much to tell. I mean, I'm sure it's rebuildable. Just don't know how far I'm going to have to go. So put it in the vat and see where we get. So got the block out of the vat. We ran the little cheapy spring hone thing just to break the rust up so I can check the cylinders. So that hone, I mean, that's a real quick hone job. It doesn't do a lot, but it lets me know which cylinders I could, whether it needs bored or just if I could hone it with the big hone. I've got a big Sun-In hone. So these ones I trust. I'm not too worried about that little bit of pitting. That would come out. Wouldn't be perfect, but it would definitely run. That one came out really good. That rigid hone gives you an idea of where the wear's at and everything. These are mainly just stains that would come out. If I hone that with a big hone, that would come out in a few swipes. I probably would only have to take 1/2 thousandths or something out. That one, however, is actual pitting. So I found a kit that's 20 thousandths over, and I'm hoping, I think that should come out by 20 thousandths. It's kind of hard for me to tell. I'm not that good at that stuff, but I know majority of that, if not all of that, should clean up perfectly at 20 thousandths. So I'm going to go ahead and mic the crank, and then that'll let me know rod bearing size and main bearing size. Almost positive these are going to be standard, and then that's all I need to know to order a kit. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else I'm worried about. Obviously got to deck the block and deck the heads, actually do a full valve job because it blew a head gasket or whatever it did. Not sure if there's anything else I should worry about leaking where the water came from. It should just be from a head gasket. And then, yeah, so the kit, I just looked around a little bit. Rock Auto actually has a full rebuild kit, including lifters, rockers, pretty much everything else, and a timing set for $1,075, something like that. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and order that, replace all the lifters, replace all the rockers, and replace the whole entire timing set. And I'm fine with I'll bore and hone the block. I'm fine with the crank. So the only other thing I have to worry about at this point is camshafts and cam phasers. Rock Auto has the cam phasers for $80 a piece. I'm going to look at those a little bit. We'll probably end up replacing those to be on the safe side. And camshafts I have not found yet. 3 of them I'm fine with. 1 of them may be pitted. I'm going to put it on the polisher and try to just break the rust off of it and see what it looks like. Okay, I think I'm finished with cleanup for the most part. There's the mains after they've been blasted. Most of the rust off of them. I'll just have to clean up the mating surface, get the tape off of the bearing surface. I'm going to have to lightly run a hone through all this, and then I'll check all the clearances on the mains. Should be good. Here's the crank. Still have a little bit of rust down in there I'll have to get to. Not too worried about it though. Other than that, turned out really good. Got most of the crank cleaned up. I'll put this in the lathe and chuck up the rear mainsail. Put a pilot on the one side, rotate it, and I'll just polish it with a Scotch-Brite belt sander. Shouldn't need much. Touch it up a little bit. And then rods, all turned out good. Got most of the rust off of them. So I'll just have to touch up this side a little bit with a hone. It's got a locating dowel in there, so I don't want to go through the trouble. I don't even know if it's possible, but of removing the locating dowel to cut the cap. I think these things, like I said, there's no reason that these things won't clean up. I don't know about the bushing side. See how that goes. There's that rusty windage tray, cleaned up perfectly. So that's everything for cleaning. And so got to order parts, get the cylinders honed out, do a little bit of work here and there, and I will assemble it. It'll probably be a few weeks before I get anything done. I've still got a few motors. Well, this is pretty high priority, but not super high on the list. But we've got a 292 that I'm building. Shit all over my face. It's going to be a really sweet build. That one's going to be kick-ass. We've got a Ford flathead that I'm building. I'll have to do the machine work on the heads. There's one other motor. I'm trying to think of what it is. There was another motor somewhere. Flathead, 292. So there's actually a few other motors that I'm building. Nothing that's super high priority, but... Oh, the Dodge. I'm building a 360 Dodge Durango RT motor. I haven't done a video on that. Nothing special on this. Not like anything special on the Toyota that I'm doing here. Just that I was kind of showing how I'm somewhere in between a home builder and a professional shop. Most of everything I do this stuff is with basic tools. I mean, I've got a lot of equipment around here, but nothing the average homeowner can't access. So thanks for watching. Follow along, like and subscribe, and I'll see you the next time when I do a video on assembling this thing.